Welcome to another episode of Talking Nerdy in the Bedroom with
Corey,
KJ, and no Mike. No Mike today. It's like 3 weeks in a row. However, last week we were on vacation, so that episode was recorded months ago. But still, I think that's like, this is the third week, because the week before that was Spider-Man, which he wasn't able to see. And technically, if we were going to do this episode today about The Flash, he hasn't seen that either.
he sucks.
Yeah. His just schedule
Just
didn't
busy.
align with us when we went to go see movies. All right. But yeah, so today we're going to be talking about The Flash with just Corey and I. We did go see it with Nick, but that bitch is back in Pennsylvania already. Terrible guy. Pennsylvania, who needs it? But yeah, so The Flash. Let's talk about The Flash. It got delayed by a year or two, especially everything that happened with Ezra Miller and DC trying to restructure their movies before James Gunn took over. And yeah, so now it finally came out. It had some hype behind it just because obviously you got to see Michael Keaton in the previews, which I'm surprised they showed. I mean, I guess I get it to get people in the theater, but that's kind of a big
Yeah, I think they needed
deal.
that pull because Ezra Miller is not everybody's favorite Flash, and then also just the DC movies have been so kind of shitty.
Well, that and everything that happened with Ezra Miller, too.
Yeah,
Throwing in Michael Keaton is kind of like, hey, ignore that guy, but look, there's Batman.
Yeah, but I think it was also just ignore that guy because he's a shitty Flash. Kind of
I think you think he's a shitty Flash, and you do, but I really haven't heard too much hate on him for being the Flash.
Oh, I have.
You've heard all this?
Yeah, I see
Is
a
it
lot.
by yourself?
No, I've seen a lot of reviews and stuff where people just say he's not. He shouldn't be Barry Allen. If he wanted to be like maybe a Wally West, where he's kind of more jokey, fine. But Barry Allen, yeah, he sucks as Barry Allen.
Isn't the Flash one of your favorites?
Yeah.
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 He's not your favorite. That's Spider-Man?
Yeah, Spider-Man's probably my favorite. Flash is probably my favorite DC hero.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that makes... So, Spider-Man your favorite overall.
Yeah.
But then if you get specific, then Flash for the DC.
Yeah.
Interesting over Batman.
Well, I mean, Batman's cool, but just
end it right there. Batman is cool.
He is cool. Yeah. Yeah. And
There's a lot of
Superman's
money.
just like too overpowered.
Yeah. It's always weird when you see him fight somebody.
Although really the Flash is the strongest person in that universe.
He's definitely overpowered.
Yeah.
Just because, well, you saw it in this movie, and I guess we'll get into it. The amount of time, like in the opening sequence, which is supposed to be this cool opening sequence with the slow-mo stuff, it was awful. It was bad. The the CGI, the VFX, everything was shitty about it. The babies didn't look real.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff. And then him needing, I get him needing to fuel up, but it's spending like 5 minutes about him cooking a burrito and all this other stuff. Oh, I hated it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were trying to be too comedic there, like when he's trying to propel himself to save the girl or the baby, whichever one it was, and he actually goes right by them to the vending machine and then breaks into the vending machine just so he has some food. Again, I get it that he needs food, but it was a very lame joke, I felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, just the whole sequence. Like we obviously saw Quicksilver in one of the X-Men or a couple of the X-Men where they have that sequence, which is kind of pretty cool, of him running in and like pulling everybody out of the house before it explodes. Him also doing another one inside like kitchen, which could be the same scene, but the kitchen at the X-Men mansion. But anyway, that's a pretty damn cool scene. You have the Quicksilver scene in the MCU, which isn't good comparatively, but the X-Men version did it right.
Yeah.
And this one
Evan Peters.
didn't. Yes. And this one really didn't. Nothing landed for me for it. And the way he runs is fucking awful.
Yeah. It's pretty dumb.
Yeah, it's the one little movement of the hand and he's gone like a mile. And it looks so weird.
Yeah.
It's just not... I felt like they were trying to be so different than the other Flashes to make it be like their own. and it didn't land for me. It was not fun to watch.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, it just...
I mean, I
was
didn't
weird.
mind the movie as a whole, but yeah.
Yeah, see, that I was about to get into that. Like, the movie as a whole, I don't think was that bad of a movie, but most of that, for me anyway, comes a bit from nostalgia with everything with Michael Keaton. But also, like, the story, I didn't necessarily mind it too much. I loved the idea of going back in time, and every time you do, you're never gonna be able to change everything. You're never gonna be able to make everything. You're never gonna be able to make everybody happy. I remember coming back for the movie and having a talk with Nick about the different universes when you go back in time or when you change something. Because like the MCU basically has one timeline that eventually splinters.
Yeah.
But you started from a certain point, you got all the way up to here, and then it splinters. And this one was more how Michael Keaton basically explained it in the movie, is that once you go back in time, you've literally created a whole new everything. There might be points that intersect that are gonna have to happen. Obviously, in this case, like Batman and Supergirl dying. But you had to have those moments that need to happen, but otherwise the past is completely different, the future is completely different, the present is completely different. As soon as you change one thing, you're on this whole other trajectory.
Yeah.
And I like that more than you think of like Back to the Future, where you go back in time and then if something changes, you slowly fade out of existence, and because that's obviously not how time works. At least
Wow.
the theory of how time works, that theory doesn't really hold much weight compared to the other ones.
I guess.
I mean, time being relative and everything else, it just doesn't hold as much weight. It seems like a very antiquated approach to time compared to both the way the MCU and the way DC has kind of laid it out. And I'm actually more in probably the DC version of thinking what would happen if there ever was like time travel, is that literally it would change everything, but that original timeline, so to speak, would still just keep going.
The only real justification in my mind for that, or like the biggest justification I should say, is why haven't we seen or heard of time travel yet? And it would be because of that, because
Correct.
It would change. It creates a new universe where the
That's right.
Yeah.
So it'd be like if you just never saw KJ again. I know you'd be happy, but you never saw KJ again. I could just be on a completely different timeline, but you'd have no idea that I time traveled. Yeah. So I like that idea more. Besides the fact, if you want to get into whether we're living in a simulation and all that stuff, that one to me just seems to hold more weight because, yeah, if people could time travel even in the super, super distant future, you'd probably see something by now. But then there's also the talk of time travel. Like if I was to create a time travel machine today, you wouldn't ever be able to go to the past. You'd only ever be able to go to today because today's the first day I created it. So in 100 years, somebody could come back to today, but never any further because there's no machine to go back to. But anyway, this one was just because he ran really fast. And God, what did you think of the Flash? What's it called? The Flashpoint or the Flash? What's it called when he's in the bubble?
The Speed Force, pretty
Speed
much.
Force,
He's
is that what it
inside
was?
The Speed Force.
Yeah. So hated that.
Yeah.
Hated it with a passion. I hated the outside because
I don't know why it was like a coliseum.
Yep. And
or a sphere it ended
Yep.
up being, and then the spheres collide. That didn't make any sense.
Nope. And then, I guess those were supposed to be different realities.
And then why was like where they ripped open always a Superman?
Well, because yeah, he's a Superman.
Yeah.
Never mind. I was gonna say because it's the movie. I was like, wait, no, that's Flash.
Yeah.
Because it was something cool and they wanted to throw some shit.
I get
in.
it, but
although it wasn't only they
should've
threw
been a
in the
variety.
Golden Flash too as one of them.
The what?
The Golden Flash.
The evil one? Reverse
No,
Flash?
no. The Golden Flash. Like a lot of people thought it was the Flash from the TV show.
Well,
but it's not supposed to be.
It
him.
was from the TV show, but it's not. Whatever his name is, not Wesley Snipes. Wesley's.
But no, it's
not
not
the original
from the TV show.
Well,
TV show.
Let me finish. the Flash that you see with the old style helmet, which is Silver Age Flash, he's in the Flash TV show pretending to be that Flash, but really he's a villain called Zoom. And then you eventually meet the actual Jay Garrick Flash, who's played by the actor who did the original Flash TV show back in like the 80s. So
so this was supposed to be just a representation of Golden Age Flash.
Well, Silver Age. But yeah, it's Jay Garrick.
Pretty sure they said golden, but maybe not.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you do get that in some of it, but yeah, then you do get the random Superman of Nicolas Cage, which again
fighting
is
the
kind
spider
of
was
fighting the
just
spider.
funny.
Yeah, horrible CGI, but it was cool to see Nicolas Cage in that role because I still remember those photos of him, like when he was like auditioning or being dressed up as Superman. Like those are still all over the interweb. So, what did you feel with I know you hated the Coliseum look, and so did I. I don't know how true that is to the comic. I assume you would know. But the way that, and I guess this was, they say it's intentional, but the way everybody looked in the Coliseum as he was slowly rewinding time, like it was supposed to look that bad. Because it was supposed to be that he's going so fast that it distorts them. And like that's
just an excuse,
right? It's like us with the escape room. We had a shitty room, and we're shitty designers, and we're like, no, this is part of the room. It makes sense because this is supposed to be like a dive apartment.
Yeah,
that's what it feels like. But that's what they're saying. They're saying that was intentional.
So was Nick Cage CGI intentional?
That I don't know, but that was pretty bad.
Was every other CGI intentional?
Man, it might be one of the worst
wanted
CGI
it to look
movies.
Like shit.
It might be one of the worst CGI movies I've seen in like a decade, if not more. Especially with how much it's a DC movie, so it has a big budget. 2, it also
I don't know what the budget ended up being.
$330 million.
Really?
Yes. And then they spent another like $300 million on advertising.
So I still feel like they might have reined in the CGI budget when all that stuff with Ezra, because that would have been in post. And all that stuff with Ezra Miller went down. Maybe they were trying to save a little money there in case it fucking bombed.
Yes, but still,
because at one point they were going to release it straight to HBO Max.
I heard about something about that, because it was supposed to come out during that time where they had that deal. With HBO Max, but then they ended up switching it and pushing it till later, and that deal only lasted a year, basically during like the height of COVID. Yeah. And I didn't mind watching movies on HBO Max, but to me, there's always something about going to a theater and seeing it, as long as people don't suck in the theater. And this actually wasn't that bad of a theater experience. I didn't really have any issues. I'm not sure if you.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't recall anybody talking. I don't recall. There was people that talked a little bit, but it was only like at certain points, and then they shut up for the next 15, 20 minutes, and then would say something else when something else happened, and then shut up again for the next 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So what did you feel about them getting the story right, let's say, for what you were expecting?
It was similar. Like, it was basically like if a game of telephone happened, they got most of the important details right.
I mean, yeah, probably.
Yeah, they didn't have Reverse Flash in it, which kind of sucked.
Apparently, if they ever do a sequel, that's apparently who's supposed to be in it, because he's the one that killed his mom.
Yeah. Let's see, what else? Superman... Or Supergirl in this version being weak and emaciated, and then them freeing that was straight from the comics. I'm trying to remember what else.
I thought she did a great job, by the way, being Supergirl.
Yeah, she was good.
Yeah, I thought everything was believable, and then her leaving and then coming back. And then even her slow transformation back into Supergirl, when she was out in the sun, I actually didn't mind that CGI.
I would have preferred. I mean, I love me some Michael Keaton Batman. However, I would have preferred Jeffrey Dean Morgan Batman as Thomas Wayne with Gunn's dark version of Batman.
Sure, but yeah, you're getting Thomas Wayne, not Bruce, as Batman. Yeah.
And then, I mean, the way the Flashpoint paradox ends is one of the last things is Thomas Wayne writes a letter to Bruce, and all you see is it says for Bruce, and the Flash brings it back with him to his timeline and gives it to Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne, one tear goes down Batman's face.
Oh, poor guy. Yeah. To be fair, he's always brooding. You know he's crying more than one tear.
That's true. Well, he can't. His eye makeup.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. It would just run everywhere. I know. All right. So, what about the whole seeing Michael Keaton again? Because obviously it would have been a huge reveal if we weren't told ahead of time. But I understand why they did. But that would have been a massive reveal. But what did you think about seeing him again as this old guy? And then obviously he then shaves and then looks like Batman, Michael Keaton. How did you feel about his character coming back?
I mean, yeah, I was excited for it. And I think he did a good job again as Batman. It's funny because he was always better as a Bruce Wayne than a Batman. And I think he did good as a Bruce Wayne too in that, so.
I thought his Batman was pretty good here, but it was there was nothing overly about the Batman. It's just the Batman I kind of expect rather than being something extraordinary. It's the baseline. And then, even goes so far as to, at least initially before they go back in time, the one of 1,000 times, where he sacrifices himself or tries to fly into the shield.
Yeah.
Yeah. That seems very Batman-ish, especially with as old as he is.
Batman would have made sure it would work instead of just being a waste.
That's fair. It was a bit of
Batman
a waste.
wouldn't be that was more like the guy from Independence Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that "Hey girls, I'm home"? Or I don't remember the exact quote. But he still it just showed who Batman was, and I love I know it wasn't Michael Keaton, obviously, but just seeing even his stunt double do some of those stunts was just fun to watch. He's an old man and he's fighting the other two Flashes. I thought that was a pretty interesting take of what would happen during that sequence. And,
I like that he was drunk too.
Yes,
because it made it funnier.
And he was trying to eat pasta. He was trying to cook. Yeah. What did you? Because you're a big Flash guy. The sequence for how Flash got his powers that then they recreated, and then it took away his powers and gave them to the other Flash. Before,
that doesn't happen in Flashpoint, but in Flashpoint what happens is he comes to the other universe and he doesn't have his powers, and then I think again it's confused because it's a different way they look at time travel, and I think where because he came back and stopped it, he never becomes the Flash,
right?
So then he's living outside of time, basically.
Well, that's really how this one should have been, because when he stopped his dad from killing, or for being accused of killing his mom and his mom dying, he never would have been at that lab. So he should be out of time and not have powers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what happens is he gets Thomas Wayne to help him recreate so that part was kind of
very
similar.
Yeah.
And then the first time he does it, it just causes burns all over his body.
Which is exactly what happened in the movie.
And then he does it again, and it works. But Supergirl's not involved in that.
Yeah.
So.
I actually didn't mind that scene either, that he was... It kind of showed his resolve as Flash to need these powers. He knows he needs them so that he can, one, get back to his own timeline, and two, save this world from hopefully collapsing until he realizes that's not going to happen. But to take that shot once and then take it again, to then get pulled up in the sky by Supergirl to basically get struck by lightning.
That didn't really make any sense, though, because it's not the lightning.
It's the chemicals and the lightning, right?
Well, technically, it's the Speed Force choosing him.
Oh,
Like
okay.
the Speed Force is sentient. They
Oh.
don't cover that at all in this. I don't think they
No.
do in the original Flashpoint either. But yeah, I mean, to recreate his actual experiment, it's the chemicals and
I mean, to be fair, he still had the chemicals on him.
Yeah.
And then he just needed like 3 strikes of lightning.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe it was only 2, because the first one did it and the second one might have crapped out, and then that's when Supergirl showed up.
Yeah.
But either way, but I still liked that of his resolve and getting his powers back. What did you feel about what's his face? I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy coming back as Zod.
Oh yeah, I don't know his name either. I don't know. Zod was just kind of a meaningless character. I felt there was no villain
In this?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that Zod would be what they would call a villain, but he really wasn't because it didn't affect the current timeline.
It's just happening in the background.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
But I still liked his performance as Zod in this, similar to how I liked it in the first one. But even in this one, he's more, or at least he appears more sadistic because he's able to just kill Supergirl. Basically beats the hell out of the Flash when he can, along with Batman. Like that to me just shows the overpoweredness, and would look like an actual person that like Superman would come up against that would take time to beat. Like it wouldn't just be because Superman's so OP that he could just destroy everybody without trying. And with Zod, because he basically is also a Kryptonian, that it would be or should be an actual fight. And I felt like this movie, similar to Man of Steel, did show that he was overpowered, did show that he was strong, and that if he did come up against a Superman, he would either annihilate them like he did to Supergirl, or it would be like an actual matchup rather than just watching Superman hold back.
Yeah.
What did we think of the I don't want to call it the second Barry, I guess? Because that Barry to me seemed more of the funny Barry, and I definitely thought they were going to turn him into the Reverse Flash. I thought that's what their intention was.
No, Reverse Flash is, I mean, it would be really dumb because he's a pretty well-known character, and it's different. Not the Flash. So.
I understand, but I was just the way he kept getting those things shoved in his arm, like by Zod, and then he just kept going evil. Like he kept seeming like he was getting eviler and eviler. I just thought that's the way they were gonna go.
So there is an evil version of the Flash where he's a time remnant that like gets. I don't know if it's in the comic. It's in the TV show, and he becomes this villain called Savitar.
Is that what this was supposed to be in the movie?
No, this was supposed to be, I forget what they call it. It's like death, basically. At least that's what I'm guessing was. Black Flash, maybe they call it. But basically the Speed Force, that the principle behind why that character exists, Death, is because the Speed Force is too... Death can't catch a speedster, right. So because they could exist outside of time. So... the Speed Force has an entity they send after, like if they want to kill one of them or, reap them or whatever. So, I don't really know what that character was. It was some kind of twisted version of the Flash. It wasn't really the Black Flash, but it kind of looked similar. So that's why I'm saying I feel like they at least took the cosmetic from that Black Flash, but I don't know.
I also wasn't a giant fan of that time paradox. That it's them in that... it
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You go further back in time then.
Yeah.
Like, why do you keep going back to... Like, just go further back in time before Zod even gets there or something.
Yep.
It's stupid.
Yep. Not to mention the... Well, I also meant just about that that version of Barry that is all black, that he just shows up, but he's so much more in the future than they are. Or not even the future... because he's gone back in time so many times to this exact moment over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And that he's the one that shoved Barry into the past that he's in. Like, that's such a... I don't know.
Yeah, it was a bad ending because of that.
Yeah. I would think that's why I was hoping for something like it appeared anyway, like it might be a reveal, and it just fell flat.
Yeah.
It still didn't, again, at least for me, it didn't really take away from the movie itself. I would still probably put this movie at like a 6. Because I enjoyed it and I sat through it, and I love seeing Michael Keaton as Batman again. Again, that's a big part for me. And it wasn't a terrible story. There were some plot holes in it. There's some stuff I didn't really overly enjoy, but it was like an enjoyable movie from start to finish. I never got bored. I did fall asleep though, but that had nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah.
That had to do with like a week-long camping trip and jet skis. And it was for about 4 minutes, and then I felt very rejuvenated.
Yeah.
Yeah. But other than those 4 minutes, which was at the very beginning-ish of the movie, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. Again, it's nowhere near my top 5, 10, 20 or whatever, but it still wasn't a bad movie.
No, especially for DC.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, it is probably going to flop.
Yeah, I think it already did, they said.
Well, I mean, it's still out in the theaters.
Well,
it
I know,
could
but
rebound, but
I think they've already determined it's a flop based on what it's made so far.
Yeah.
So.
However, there have been movies out there that like keep making money. You look at like Avatar, Maverick, Hangover. There was a few others that like didn't do really well their first week or two, but then just kept having people coming in week after week after week. So even though they weren't making like 100 million every weekend, they're making like 20 million every weekend, and then that just keeps adding up and adding up and adding up. So that's always a possibility, but usually that's because the movie kind of takes you by storm, because nobody expected Hangover to be as good as it was. Nobody expected, well, unless you know James Cameron's work, nobody expected the first Avatar to be this global phenomenon. There are certain movies, like we knew Infinity War and Endgame were going to be cultural events that everybody goes to, and they make a lot of money off it. Yeah. But these other movies, they really... It's hard to determine that to begin with, of how much money it's going to make and how people are actually going to enjoy the movie. But yeah, at this point, with the movie costing as much as it did, and right now it might make back its budget, its regular budget. But yeah, I don't think it's going to make back what they've paid for advertising. So it's definitely going to be considered a flop, which is a little bit disappointing for multiple reasons. One, I wouldn't mind seeing a second Flash movie, especially if they keep these different like cameos and fun stuff that they did with it while making a somewhat entertaining movie, especially if they could fix the VFX. But also, there was supposed to be a Batman movie, like that they were going to come out with on like within this universe or some other. What is that famous Batman? God, what is it called? Batman Beyond or?
Batman Beyond's from future, where Bruce Wayne's old, and then there's a kid that...
I think they were planning on doing that if this movie did well. And now that doesn't look like it's going to happen, because this movie is not doing as well as they are hoping.
Well, that's kind of a dumb logic.
Well, I mean, a lot of movies do that. A lot of movies do, like, if this movie does well, we'll do a sequel, or we'll do this, that, or the other.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter, because... I think we'll just see what James Gunn... I'm kind of looking forward to him recasting like Green Lantern and The Flash.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if he's going to push that out, and like, because obviously he's doing the Superman movie.
They're not his priority right now. He's got Superman, then he's got the... what are they called? Animal Squad or something. Where like
no idea.
Yeah, they're like a lot of them are mutant animals, basically.
Oh.
Creature Commandos or something like that.
Oh, I didn't even hear about that. I just knew like
it's obscure. It's kind of like I wouldn't call Suicide Squad obscure, but
it's obscure-ish.
Yeah, or like Peacemaker getting its own TV show is not.
Which was fantastic.
Yeah, it was.
I can't wait for
that's not a
2.
character that you would like immediately go TV show for that character.
However, after watching the Suicide Squad with John Cena in it, if they're like, we're going to do a spin-off with him, I'd be like, okay.
Well, that was James Gunn just got to have it like Guardians of the Galaxy. They're making like Iron Man, Captain America, and it's like Guardians of the Galaxy. You got a tree who says, 3 words and a mechanical augmented raccoon. Like it's.
I don't know about mechanical.
Well, I mean, he's got like cybernetics and stuff attached
him?
to him. Yeah, he's augmented.
I know he's augmented, but he's not like augmented like Nebula is to that extent.
I mean, I don't know, but that's why he's so intelligent too.
Well, I knew about the intelligence, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. He took something that was a bit obscure, and I feel like he also did that because he could kind of do what he wanted with it, because no one was like looking at it like an Iron Man, like a Captain America, where you got to stick to this, that, or the other, and he was able to like create his own little universe with it, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I don't remember if you were here for that podcast. I don't think you were, for the Guardians of the Galaxy. I know you watched it with us, but I don't think you were available for the podcast. I think it was just me, Mike, and Casey.
I don't remember.
Where would you put that movie?
In what?
Like out of the 3 Guardians movies, like if you had to rank them.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's not easy. Like for me, the second one is last. And it's not that it's a bad movie. It's just the first one is great, and this third one is also great. Like I think I have the first one ahead of it just because it's the first one.
So the second one, my only gripe
so
was
good.
there's a couple scenes where Chris Pratt just is shitty at acting. So that kind of ruined it for me. Beyond that, it would be actually competing for number 1 spot.
Oh no!
Ego was great.
That
line where he's like,
"What's his face?" is better, so much better though. Who? The villain in this last one. Damn it! What's your name?
Not better than Ego.
So much better,
dude. The line where Ego says, "It killed me to put that cancer in your mother," was fucking great. And then Chris Pratt followed it up with some awful acting. But Kurt Russell, great as Ego.
Yeah, that one's still third for me. And then obviously
Michael Rooker.
I mean, he's in the first one. He's in the first one.
That's not my point. He was just much better in the second one.
Well, yeah, because they gave him way more story in the second one, too.
I love the rocket fight scene in the second one, where in the woods, where all the guys are trying to... And he just friggin' dominates them.
Yeah. Although the rocket scene where he rips off what's-his-face's face in the
Rooker
third one.
Going through, and Groot going through the ship, just annihilating everybody.
Yeah, but that kind of like, how many times can you do that? They did that like 17 times.
What do you mean?
In the first and the second movie with him and Rooker Rooker in general just whistling and then just murdering everybody.
So he did it in the first one, and then the second one you see him do it in like a ship with like multiple... I thought that was pretty cool.
It's still, the third one is definitely better.
I didn't really love the villain in the third one was...
probably the best villain the MCU has had outside of Thanos and Killmonger.
No, I mean, you can say that. I disagree.
Yeah, name a redeemable quality he has.
So that's your characteristic.
That's a villain.
No, that's how you define a villain that's good.
Villain is.
I mean, I can find villains with... Darth Vader's not a
no, he's
villain.
A good guy.
Yeah, well, it's one of the best villains in cinema history, so...
In the first movie, maybe.
In all of them.
In the second movie, also maybe. The third one, you redeem yourself. Also, how do you murder so many kids and then redeem yourself?
Well, that wasn't him. That was Vader with different people.
No, that was still when he was him.
Huh?
When he murdered all those kids?
No, he was Vader when he stormed the temple.
I mean, stormed it? He walked in. They didn't know he was evil yet.
Well, his eyes are fucking yellow. That's on them.
They didn't have the suit. They didn't call him Vader yet.
Well, no, he was already christened Lord Vader by Sidious. The suit doesn't make him Vader.
I thought that's when he christened him Vader.
No, he christens him Vader and sends him to destroy the Jedi at the temple.
Oh, okay. All right, well, maybe. But it's also because it's that third movie, which, to be fair, is probably the best out of the 3, but it's still bad.
Debatable.
No, not really.
It is.
All right, so back to The Flash, though, because reason I got sidetracked and I asked you about ranking the Guardians movie is because now with James Gunn obviously taking over the DCU, and he's got his own Batman movie, which is already written, and apparently he loves the script. I was listening to him
Batman
on Michael...
movie?
Yeah. Or not Batman, excuse me, Superman.
Yeah, Superman Legacy.
Legacy, yeah. And he was on Michael Rosenbaum's podcast, and he was talking about loving it and being very excited for the script and putting all this pressure on him to begin with because, like, wanting to make a good Superman movie. Because they're, like, I don't know, it's kind of debatable what a good Superman movie is. If you go back to the original Superman with Christopher Reeves, the first one is good. Second one involves time travel and going around the, flying around the Earth, which was weird, but okay. I think there was a third one. Wasn't there Superman 3?
There was 5.
There was 5, all with Reeves?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
3 was...
I think I only remember the first 3.
I think 3 was the one with Richard Pryor. And then 4 was, I think, where he disarms the nuclear weapons. I think it was made in the 80s. So and then, I don't remember 5. I mean, 1 and 2 are the only ones I remember.
And then, obviously, we got Man of Steel, which I still love. It's probably my favorite Superman movie. And then Batman vs. Superman, which was atrocious. And then the regular Justice League, which was even worse. And then the Snyder Cut, which was better. What?
The regular Justice League was not worse than Batman vs. Superman. It was not.
It was so bad.
That Batman vs. Superman was 100%. It could have been the best movie ever, and that Martha shit would ruin it.
But even if you take out that Martha shit, it's a bad movie.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So it's even fucking worse.
I know, because you have all these characters and everything that you're doing, and it just, everything was so quick.
They took one of the best storylines, too, and just butchered it.
With Mother Box, or?
No.
Superman comes back?
Dark Knight Rises, basically.
Superman Rises?
No. God. Is it Dark Knight Rises? I don't know. Dark Knight Returns? I can't remember. It's a comic series that basically is the best Batman comic book series ever. It's graphic novels, I guess, but it's basically old Batman. So they adapted parts of it that they wanted and then butchered the rest. But it's old Batman comes and fights Superman and kicks his ass one last time with the armored bat suit. And yeah, I don't know. It's great. And there's an animated version of it that's super good too, because DC animated movies are freaking great. Too bad their live action suck.
Most of them suck. They have more of a track record of sucking than being good.
Yeah.
That's definitely for sure. Because if you go to the Christopher Nolan movies, those were good. Like, we have no gripes about those.
There's a great line in the Batman one too, where so the first Batman is about like him getting back to fighting and stuff, and then the second part 2 is him and Superman go at it, and that's the Man of Steel, like what they take from that's Batman versus Superman, like they take aspects of that. But the first one, he's fighting, there's this group called the Mutants, and there's this like head guy who has like shark teeth and like just huge, like Bane on crack. And Batman lures him into like this muddy pit area. And so the guy's main thing is that he's super strong, but he can't grab him because he's made himself slick. And so the guy is like getting, starting to get his ass kicked by Batman after originally like beating him up a bit. Batman's like, "See, you thought we were fighting, but this is an operating room and I'm the surgeon." And then he just takes him apart by hitting all these like pain points. And the guy's basically crippled on the ground at that point. It's freaking
That's
awesome.
a good line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would recommend HBO Max has all the animated movies. You should
for
watch
now.
them. Well, you should
Everything's
watch them while
been
you
coming
can.
off.
Watch them while you can.
It's not HBO Max anymore.
I think it's
just
called Dark
Max.
Knight Returns. I always want to say Rises, but I think
because of the movie.
I think
Yeah.
Dark Knight, like it's just so many fucking things.
So with James Gunn and Guardians, especially if you're going to put the second Guardians towards the top, which again, no, but anyway, if you just look at that those are 3 really good movies, right? 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
So, and then he did Suicide Squad, which was good, not great, but enjoyable through the whole thing. And then he did Peacemaker, which was phenomenal. Now you have him in charge of DCU. Obviously, he's not going to have as much, like, obviously he wrote most of those that we were talking about with
Brightburn
Guardians.
too.
Yeah, but I'm not including that because even though I somewhat enjoyed that movie, it wasn't like a top tier movie for me.
Yeah, he did Super with Rainn Wilson.
Oh, he did. I didn't know that he did Super. Oh, I love that movie. It's not good, but it's great.
Oh, it's fucking great.
Yeah,
I love it.
Again, it's not a good movie, but it's great.
It's one of the last movies I really liked. What's her face? Or his
Elliot
face?
Page.
Yeah. Well, Ellen Page at the time. I guess,
but
right?
and she's funny in it. He's hysterical. Rainn Wilson is so good in it.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. Is Kevin Bacon the bad guy?
I want to say yes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Kevin Bacon.
And then his wife, I think, is Liv Tyler.
That's very possible. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen it. But yeah, I didn't realize that was James Gunn. But anyway, so now with him doing this, I have a lot of faith in the Superman movie he's going to do. But I'm not sure how much faith I have in the next projects because he has no track.
In that too.
He has no track record of having his fingers in other people's movies that have a concise story that have to be interconnected. Like Kevin Feige, the only reason I trust him is because I look at the first few years with all these Marvel movies.
Well, yeah,
and
but he had to
operate
operate within the MCU doing that, so I feel like he does to an extent.
Well, what do you mean? James Gunn did.
Yeah.
But with Kevin Feige basically overseeing it, now he's going to be that and have to watch all these directors.
Can't be worse than they were doing without him.
I'm not saying that, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be worth going to see type of movies. Like,
plus, the MCU fucks things up all the time. They just wreck on stuff.
Sure, I'm not saying that one or the other, but I don't think I've gone to an MCU movie in the early stages that I didn't like, that I absolutely hated.
Yeah.
Like all the way through Endgame, probably. And then after Endgame, there was some that were better than others. So I know, like, I didn't really mind Captain Marvel. I didn't think that you liked it, but it sounds like you did. You didn't mind it.
Yeah, I thought it was fine.
Okay. And that takes us through Endgame. And then after Endgame, some of the movies weren't overly great. Some of the TV shows weren't overly great. But then we've had some that have been, top notch. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Spider-Man No Way Home, some aspects of Multiverse of Madness, very little of Thor, Love and Thunder. Black Panther 2 was okay, but it could have been better, probably would have been better if it wasn't for everything with Chadwick Boseman. But there's been misses. That's where I'll say there'll be misses. DCU misses have been hard, like really, really hard, to the point where I don't want to watch a movie.
Yeah. I mean, I liked Wonder Woman. I liked Aquaman.
You didn't like Wonder Woman 84?
Well, no, I didn't.
It was atrocious.
Did I say Wonder Woman?
I'm just saying. And we didn't like or you shouldn't have liked anyway, the original Suicide Squad with Will Smith. Like, that just wasn't a good movie, a good script, a good anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, DC and like Black Adam was okay. I remember leaving the theater and being like, that wasn't that bad. Because probably my expectations were super low.
Yeah.
I liked the first Shazam. The second one's pretty bad. I don't know if you've seen that one yet.
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah. It's pretty bad. So that's my point. Like, they have at best a 50-50 track record, which isn't great.
Yeah, I'm excited for Blue Beetle.
I don't know. Like, the trailer made me go, all right, let's see what this is. Yeah. But I have no expectations or hopes about it. I don't even know what the fuck, who or what the Blue Beetle is. So I got nothing. Well, I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
Shit.
It'd be so much better if you watched The Wire. So yeah, I just don't know, but the trailer made me go, okay, let's give it a shot.
Yeah, it's I mean, the original Blue Beetle was Ted Kord, and he used like technology he developed, and then this version of Blue Beetle is the one I like. It's Jaime Reyes, and the scarab attaches itself to his back, and then they have like a symbiotic relationship basically. And the one thing I don't like is the Beetle. I've heard the Beetle's voice in like the Young Justice series and some other things, and I love the guy who played the voice. It's like perfect because he's it's kind of violent. So like if he perceives a threat, he's like, kill the threat. And Jaime's always like, no. That's like my brother. Don't shoot my brother. So, and then this one's, I mean, female and just doesn't seem like to have.
So sexist.
No, it's the fact that it doesn't seem as like it's going to be as aggressive as the other version I've heard. And you could have a female be aggressive. I mean,
sure.
I've known a couple in my day. So,
yeah. But yeah, I'm not sure how that'll play out. It's weird though with the symbiotic relationship, just because obviously we had everything with Venom with Tom Hardy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and then we'll probably get it again when Venom comes to the MCU, if Venom comes to the MCU.
Maybe that's why they changed the narrative, I guess, of the Beetle, because it would have read a little close to Venom.
Yeah, it's definitely possible to try to like just do something different.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then obviously there's Aquaman 2 supposed to come out that I've heard nothing but bad things about for early test screening, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
That's out, I think, in like December. And then Blue Beetle's out like in September.
I don't remember. I know it's coming up.
Yeah, it's relatively soon, especially for this other movie just coming out.
Right.
And we have another MCU movie this year too, don't we? Pretty sure we do.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
None of them are really like
I mean, Guardians.
I'll get excited when they get close, kind of thing. Because none of them are like I've been dying to see, kind of thing.
Except Guardians 3, I was Spider-Man: No Way Home, but yeah, I was really looking forward to Doctor Strange and really, really looking forward to Thor, and then just got disappointed.
So I was actually really looking forward to the Flash movie, only because Flashpoint Paradox, like that storyline is. I like it. So.
Yeah, but you knew they weren't going to do everything from that.
No, but I knew they were going to do some of it.
And they did, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was pretty sure we weren't going to get to see, I'm just going to call him Murder Batman, because that's basically what he was. He just shoots people instead of...
Thomas Wayne?
Yeah, Thomas Wayne.
I mean, you kind of should have known.
Well, that's what I said. I was pretty sure.
Right. Well, because I mean, they show you Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Unless they're going to start showing you Michael.
I was like, well, they're not going to have both. It doesn't make any sense.
So, what did you, getting back to Flash? I'm glad that you jumped back into that. What did you feel about George Clooney at the end?
I was fine with it. I never minded George Clooney as Bruce Wayne. It's just
it's not necessarily that's what I meant. I meant because obviously he's not back in his same timeline.
Well, I mean, you don't know he's not.
I mean, I do, because that's not Batman, and he changed something in the past.
Oh, the Flash isn't. I thought you were saying George Clooney's not in the same timeline he was before.
No, he probably is. Yeah, it's probably from the one movie we saw him in. Was it one? I think it was only one. I think
it was just one, yeah. Batman and Robin.
Yeah, so we might get that, but I just meant the Flash is in a different timeline now, where most things are the same, except now it's a different Bruce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that makes sense, because...
He changed something?
Yeah, well, according to the Michael Keaton Batman, like, you really can't get back, because it's a different version, no matter what you do. So.
Yeah, even if you were to kind of, like, reset everything.
Yeah, even if you went back, then went immediately right back to where you were, I mean, it's a different... You've changed time just by doing that, I guess, right?
Well, it depends if you've altered anything. So in that case, he altered because he talked to his mom, so he already like prolonged her being at that store for an extra minute, which would change everything. Because she could then get in traffic that wasn't there before.
Well, no, but I think my point is, Michael Keaton's point was, you go back and you change, like, let's say he went back and just killed his mom, right? Mm-hmm.
Nobody else is gonna kill her.
Right. But the stuff that happened prior to it in that timeline also changes. That's why Michael Keaton was Batman, which made no sense, because that happened before Barry became the Flash, or before the time period he ever went back to. So he's saying the past on that new timeline changes too.
I agree on the new one, but when he went back in time, he was still on his timeline. It's when he then did something to change something that then when he went back to the present, it was a completely different timeline.
Well, that doesn't make any sense. So he went back in time, right?
Yes.
So you're saying until he tried to change something Michael Keaton wasn't Batman yet.
Correct.
I don't think that's right.
Because it's exactly right, because
They
otherwise
didn't show
it was
that
Ben
at all,
Affleck.
because otherwise
They did show that because it was Ben Affleck to begin with. Then he went back in time a couple different times and nothing changed. Because remember how he kept sticking his head through those little things and seeing the past? Nothing changed because he didn't affect anything. It's only when he affected something.
I don't know. I just don't think they made it very clear. So
well, I mean, time travel really probably shouldn't be clear. We're never going to understand it if it even exists.
I have a time travel machine at my house. Actually, the crazy thing is we understand time travel to go to the future. We just don't understand how we can go to the past.
Do we understand it by going to the future by just existing?
No. So if you left on a spaceship, we just can't do it. But if you left on a spaceship and went at the speed of light away from the planet and then came back, you'd be in the future, like far, far in the future.
Would it depend how far you went?
Well, yeah. I mean, the further you go, the further in the future it would be. But they've already, like, scientists already agree upon this, that if we were able to get light speed, we left the planet and left and came back, we'd be thousands of years in the future. There's just no way to do it.
I know. It's just a weird way to think about it because obviously you want to think of that as a unit of like speed of going the speed of light.
Well, yeah.
But it would affect time rather than just being the fact that you could, like, let's say from here to the store, I could do that in 0.1 seconds because I was going the speed of light. But what scientists are saying is that if you were to do that, by the time you got back, it's actually because you're moving so fast, you're in the future.
Not if you did it on Earth. They're saying if you literally left the Earth and came back.
Why would that matter?
I have no idea. It has to do with something about... there's a great explanation of it where this guy basically shows you how it would work, but I don't fucking know.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Because
I just know that's what they agree upon would happen. I think even if you left the Earth and went close to the speed of light and came back, it would still work.
But either way, what you're talking about there, like, sounds like you're talking about speed, but it's really not, like, just speed.
It has to do with the fact that time and space are intertwined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a weird concept.
Well, that's like if you could go park on the edge of a black hole, time would fly by faster too.
We assume.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is no, we've done it. I mean, I travel in the future every second. So
I just made that joke.
No,
like 2 minutes ago.
But I'm making it again.
Did you go back in time, hear my joke, and then decide to make it in the future?
Yes.
All right. So what did we think about the ending cameo with Aquaman?
I thought it was meh.
Yeah, I agree.
It's
now,
kind of funny,
wasn't the worst after credit scene we've ever seen,
no.
But it was mediocre.
Yes,
yeah,
it was.
Yeah, it didn't add anything to anything. But oh well. All right. So let's wrap this puppy up. So what are your final thoughts on the Flash movie?
10 out of 10. No, I'm just kidding.
So fuck.
7.25.
That's higher than I thought you'd give it.
I liked a lot of it.
Yeah. Mine is probably like 6.5.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And most of that comes from Michael Keaton, though. I will say that. Without Michael Keaton in there being that level of Batman, like guiding Barry a bit, and then obviously everything with all of his sequences, and then getting to see the Batwing, all that stuff, like, you're probably looking at this movie being more towards a 5. But it was enjoyable. I didn't, like I said, I didn't get bored throughout it, so that's good. And if they did a sequel, I'm not excited to see the sequel, but I'd want to see the sequel.
Well, it wouldn't. I would hope it wouldn't have anything to do with like another Flashpoint. I feel like you wouldn't be like you wouldn't get Michael Keaton. I feel again.
Yeah, but if they did the story with
Reverse Flash,
yeah, I could be interested in that.
The best story Reverse Flash is Flashpoint, and they
Well, yeah, I know.
they didn't use him. So,
but they were talking about if they do another one to do that, but it wouldn't be Flashpoint. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I feel
what
like
they
all
do.
you would get is a speedster fight, so you'd see them running at
The terrible run. Oh
Yeah.
God, never mind. I'm no longer interested.
Yeah. It'd almost be better if it was the Flash colon the Rogues Gallery, where he fights some of his Rogues Gallery, which is like Captain Cold, what's his name? Mirror Man. Is that his name? Mirror Master, I think. But he's got some interesting villains that he fights that are you wouldn't think would be good villains against the Flash, but they actually are pretty good. So
yeah, but are they good because he's not just using his O penis? Oh, that sounded weird. His O penis.
Mirror Master, Mirror Man, whatever the heck he's called, literally goes into another universe where he's basically like a god, and he obviously through mirrors, so he will trap the Flash inside a mirror. So it sounds kind of boring when you say it, but
yeah, a little bit.
But I mean, so there's that, and then Captain Cold, the Flash's abilities, like if he gets cold, he literally can't run as fast. There's also a guy
that stops him from eating food.
No, who slows time around him, but everything slows down. I can't remember his name, but he looks like a giant fucking turtle, and so the Flash can't use his powers around him. So that's kind of a good one too. And then obviously he's got a whole bunch of speedsters he fights.
Yeah,
Godspeed, Reverse Flash, Zoom, Savitar.
So there are other Flash stories out there to put on the big screen.
Oh yeah, yep.
Whether they do it or whether they do it right. And then the other thing is, with it supposed to being like a DCU reset, like I'm assuming Ezra Miller and Gal Gadot, Ben Affleck, all of them go away.
You know, the original Justice League, the Flash was like the leader.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so Barry Allen's incredibly intelligent, and then also he can think at this as fast as he runs. He can think that fast. So during any fight, he's able to think of all the different.
Well, they kind of showed that a bit in the movie where
you have to
when
be able
he slowed down everything, and then he was like figuring out what he needed to do.
Well, because otherwise you'd be running at the speed of sound
and with your
just
same
smacking into shit like
But yeah, we'll see what they do with it. If we're supposed to not get them anymore. Oh, do you know there was alternate endings instead of George Clooney? You were supposed to get Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, Ben Affleck again as like the ending thing instead of George Clooney, and then there was another one as well. But then with everything that happened with the DC EU
get Gal
being
Gadot
gone,
in that movie?
What?
We got Gal Gadot.
Yeah, but you would have got her at the end again, or I don't know. The lasso of truth scene with Bruce was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I'll say that. It just seems to be random to add that in, but I laughed. Didn't mind it. But anyway, we'll see what they do. I'm a little bit curious of it, but not like if it just never happened, I wouldn't be that upset about it. But I'm curious.
Yeah.
All right. So next week we should have Mike back. I don't know what we're going to be talking about next week. We have some movies on the horizon, some TV shows on the horizon, but they haven't fully aired yet or come out yet. So yeah, we'll figure it out. Might be Mario, might be random shit, it might be something else that we come up with within the next week.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.